Hey guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films, here with the season finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is Season 5, Episode 22, The End. So, got some things to talk about. I actually have not made a video on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. since the season premiere. I meant to do a mid-season finale, or at least another video, but I didn't, so a lot has happened, and we'll kind of talk about some things that have happened as they come up. But yeah, here we go. First up is Coulson or the World. This is basically because earlier in the season, it was revealed that the deal with the Ghost Rider at the end of Season 4... Well, okay, I'm not exactly sure what the deal was, but basically when the Ghost Rider entered Coulson, it burned through all the GH-135, I believe it was. Whatever, I guess as Garrett would put it, the Jesus juice that was keeping Coulson alive. So it burned through all that. He did have some time to live, but he's got like no time left in this episode. So basically, they believe that they found a cure for Coulson with the centipede serum, and mixing it with Jiaying's DNA, it can heal him. But they realized that they also could use the centipede serum to inject odium into Talbot, because Talbot is our villain now, and he's been a really great villain. We'll talk a little bit about him in a minute. But basically, if you combine the odium and the centipede, it should be enough to kill Talbot before he destroys the world, basically. So, it's now the big debate. What do we do? Do we save Coulson, or do we save the world? If you save Coulson, then the world gets destroyed. So basically, they're all having this debate on what they should do. And Yo-Yo keeps saying that this is exactly what her future self warned her about in the future, basically, when she said, Phil Coulson is dying and you need to let him in order to save the world. So she tries taking the centipede serum, not injecting herself, but she takes it away and she holds it, and basically what happens is that while everyone is trying to get the serum from her, May goes over to the odium and just destroys it on the ground, breaks the vial, splatters all over the floor, and it's unusable now. So yeah, now it is no longer a choice. Now we either save Coulson or we don't save Coulson, basically. But they do believe, at least May believes, that Coulson is the key to stopping Talbot, not the odium. So, during all this, and also Coulson, the thing is, Coulson wants to die, basically. Like, he doesn't want to try to extend his life again, after what happened in the Avengers and the beginning of the show. He doesn't want to unnaturally extend his life, so he's prepared to die, basically. We cut over to Talbot with his cool gravitonium powers, and he is using his powers to fly to Chicago, where he can find more gravitonium under the surface of the Earth. Talbot has been an interesting villain. I did not expect that he was going to be the villain, but I'm glad he is, because he was a lot of fun. Of course, Talbot is always fun, so to kind of have him be the bad guy is interesting. And I like that, because basically he was infused with gravitonium. Gravitonium, which had already absorbed Ian Quinn and the doctor from episode 3, maybe a little bit later of the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, hey, we're finally following up on that with the gravitonium. And so they are constantly arguing within the Gravitonium. And when Ruby earlier in the season was infused with like 8% Gravitonium, she couldn't stand it. She couldn't. She was driven insane because they just kept arguing. But that doesn't exactly happen to Talbot. Talbot does go a little bit. He goes crazy, but not like that kind of crazy, basically. He's kind of a controlled crazy, where someone pointed out is that the reason Talbot is able to do that is because he's such a strong personality himself that he can silence all the others in the Gravitonium. None of them bother him because he's a commander. You know, he's a general. He worked in the army, so he knows how to get them under control. So I like that. That's really interesting. It makes a good reason why someone like Talbot would be able to control the Gravitonium the way he does. So we cut back, and Daisy basically says, okay, so Coulson has instructed me to give the orders and pretty much be the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, my first act is that Mac is now the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. because Mac is more qualified and knows what to do as the director, basically. Which they've kind of hinted at before. I believe it was in Season 3 when Mac was the temporary director for a little while Coulson was doing stuff. So, it's a good follow-up. There wasn't really a build-up to that, but it still makes sense when they did it. So I like that. So the team gets to Chicago, where a bunch of the police are trying to stop Talbot from starting to rip the Earth apart to get the Gravitonium. And the cops all receive message over the radio from Mac saying, like, officers, don't worry. This is S.H.I.E.L.D. We're here to help. And the officers are like, oh, thank God. So I like that we now have pretty much the official return of S.H.I.E.L.D. again, because we kind of did this already in Season 4. That was one gripe I had, is that we were kind of back to square one with S.H.I.E.L.D. Not being... Like, we had S.H.I.E.L.D. come back, and they were starting to be a legit organization, and then they were torn down again by the LMDs. But now, we're back, and hopefully we can keep S.H.I.E.L.D. this time. So yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D. is back, which is awesome. And during this, Coulson gets up. They gave him the serum, and they said, okay, it's your choice whether or not to save your life, basically. You can inject yourself and live, or not. And when he gets up and he starts walking around, they think that he injected himself, which we'll get to in a second. But so he goes with Daisy and Davis, who's flying the Quinjet. Davis, who is like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, he's pretty much just like a grunt, I suppose. He's not a main agent, but he's there and he is an agent still. But I'm just sitting here wondering, it's like, what is this guy's deal? He's like amazing, but he's never given anything. It's like he's not a main character, but I don't know. Anyway, so Davis is there to fly the plane. Coulson and Daisy have a talk, and basically they went to talk Glenn Talbot down from being insane. And Coulson says, I'm not going with you. And Daisy's like, why? And he says, because I can barely stand. And he reveals he didn't take the serum. And he waited until now to say that because he figured that if he told them on the Zephyr, then they would have held him down and injected it into him forcefully. So, yeah. So, Coulson's not going to go help. And Daisy's pretty much alone. And Daisy says, I can't do this. But Coulson says, yes, you can. I've given you all the tools that you need. Appeal to him. He's still a military man. Appeal to that. Try to talk him down. And what if I can't? Well, then you find enough strength in your arms to beat his ass senseless. So, it was a pretty cool talk, and it was really great. And Daisy goes, and now we get our big fight, which I didn't realize was going to be a huge fight. We get Daisy Johnson versus Glenn Talbot, and boy, there were some moves in here I did not see coming. So when Daisy's running over to get to Talbot, she basically like uses her quaking as like a booster and flies over there, grabs him, smacks into him, and just slams him into the concrete. It's like, whoa! I did not realize you could do this. Like, wow. And so then she says, stop, you need to stop this. You're not being the hero right now. So she does the whole thing trying to appeal to him as a military man and be like, look, the gravitonium does not make you a hero. You were a hero when you enlisted. But unfortunately, Talbot doesn't buy it and says, like, that's exactly what Hale told me before she started messing with my mind. And that's what Coulson tells me before he stabs me in the back. I'm not falling for this. So that's kind of unfortunate, but yeah. So before she's able to attack him again, he uses the gravitonium, grabs her. They both go flying past probably the tallest skyscrapers in Chicago, and then he stops, he grabs her by the shoulder, and they fall. And they fall and they fall until wham! They hit the concrete again. And I'm thinking, holy crap! That I did not see that coming. And it cuts, there's a huge crater in the road, and Daisy's kind of getting back up and stuff, and Talbot's already up. It's like, I did not realize she was that durable. Like, I don't know, they've never really tested that. Like, they've never really done anything with that. All we've seen of her powers are her ability to quake. That's it. It's like, it didn't look like, they didn't show any part of that where she, like, softened the blow or anything. It's like, no, it looks like she took that fall head on and not only survived it, but kind of came out almost unscathed. So, that was crazy. I did not realize Daisy was that powerful. But then Talbot is basically like, you know what? I need your powers. I'm just going to absorb you, and then it'll be easier to find the gravitonium when I can quake the world apart. So it's obvious that this is the thing that destroys the world. So he starts to absorb Daisy, and then while she's like struggling, she realizes there's something in her gauntlets, and she pulls it out, and it's the centipede serum. So basically, Coulson didn't take it, like, we already knew he didn't take it, but he put it in her gauntlets so that she would have it, which is the change in the timeline. So she injects herself with the centipede serum, becomes, I don't know, Super Saiyan, God Super Saiyan Daisy, and blasts all the gravitonium off of her, and Talbot comes up to attack. She gets on the ground, and boom, blasts him. He's flying like Team Rocket. He flies up into the sky, and that's that. It cuts, and it does a crossfade. He's in space. She quaked him into space. So if you didn't think she was powerful before this fight, holy crap! Like, she just skyrocketed in her powers, probably as far as Talbot went into the sky. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And basically, the thing that killed Talbot was lack of oxygen, because yeah, Talbot is super powerful. He's still human, though, and he needs oxygen, and he's in space, and there is no oxygen, and he freezes and chokes, and he dies. And that's the end of Glenn Talbot, which kind of sucks. Moving on, kind of, to back up a little bit, when the two of them slam into the ground, it causes this big quake, pardon my pun. No pun intended, but basically, Fitz, Mac, May, Robin, and her mother are all in this building, and they're about to get out, and the impact causes some rubble to basically fall on Fitz. And when they get most of the rubble out, they realize there's something wrong here. Not just Fitz's broken leg, which he keeps talking about, but there is a giant metal slab right into his gut. Oh, it looks painful. And it's this huge emotional scene, and Fitz is dead. Kinda. So here's the twist that I didn't see coming until they pretty much just said what it was. So Fitz is dead. Now, if you remember in this season, before he went to the future, my phone is spazzing out right now. I'm assuming that means power is a bit wonky. I don't know. Phone's acting up a little bit. That's all right. Yeah, so when Fitz went to the future, he didn't travel through the monolith. He went into cryosleep. So he went into cryosleep for, I think, 70 years, 75 years, and then he woke up and then came back in time. So Fitz is still out there. Fitz is still out there and he's asleep. And this Fitz is basically, I guess, the time remnant of that Fitz. You know, the future Fitz that now never is. Because that timeline doesn't happen because they saved the world. So, while it is very emotional and very sad, and Gemma is sad about this, Fitz is still alive. And now, Gemma basically says, like, alright, I'm going to go find him. So, Fitz dies, but he doesn't die. Basically, the difference between the Fitz that died and the Fitz that's in space is the Fitz in space never went to the future, has no idea who Deke is, and the fact that Deke is actually his grandson, which was a good plot twist, and he never went all Hydra and removed Daisy's inhibitor. He did still go through the framework and was all Hydra there, but he didn't go through that whole plot earlier this season with removing Daisy's inhibitor so that she could quake again. So, yeah. So there's that. And the final thing is Coulson. He doesn't have the serum anymore, so there's no chance of survival. He's basically got a few days, a few weeks if he's lucky. So they have a little, not memorial, as Coulson never calls it a memorial, but it is sort of like a funeral for Coulson. Yeah, everyone's gathered, they're taking a shot. And yeah, so Coulson leaves to the beaches of Tahiti. Isn't that... We've come full circle. Coulson is going to go die in Tahiti, but he's not alone. May is there to stay with him while he dies, which is touching. And that's the end of the episode. Overall, it was a really great episode. I will say this has been a bit of a rocky season. I'm not going to say that it's bad, but it's not been as good as previous seasons, especially in terms of some of the plot and some of the villains. I didn't particularly care for General Hale and Ruby, but once we shifted over to Talbot, I thought that was really good, and I did like Cassius earlier in this season. So yeah, I guess it's more of just a hit and miss season, but I guess there were a lot of more hits than misses, is how I can say that. There's a lot of good, there's a little bit of but it's far outweighed by all the good in this season. I really liked it. I really liked this episode, and I could totally see this as a series finale. But yeah, but I'm glad that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been renewed. I hate that I have to wait a year for the next season to come out. Literally, it's not coming back until after Infinity War 2, or I guess Avengers 4. So, yeah, that kind of sucks, but it's going to come back, which is awesome. I hope things are different. I hope S.H.I.E.L.D. is a legitimate organization again. And, yeah, I'm excited. This was really great. I really liked it. And that is pretty much it. So, with all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you want to check out more of my Marvel videos, I got the playlist down here, as well as some other videos you might want to watch, who knows. I've also got the subscribe button, and you can follow me on social media in the description. And that's basically it. Thanks for watching.